Hi, and welcome to the Home Video Emporium. I'm your host, my name is Brendan, and with this series what I hope to do is to catalog my entire collection of home video titles and determine which of these movies still belongs amongst my elite and esteemed collection and needs to be preserved for many years still to come, and which of these movies unfortunately may need to be purged so we can free up a little shelf space. I have unfortunately run out of a little room here on my shelves for home video, and I'm looking to give her about 30 to 50 movies by the end of the series. And if nothing else, this is a great time and excuse to watch some movies we may not have seen in a while and hopefully enjoy them all together. Today's episode is our 50th movie we're reviewing on the series, and it is 2022's Decision to Leave from director Park Chan-Wook. The film stars Tang Wei and Park Hae-hil. This movie is co-written by Park Chan-Wook and co-writer Shung Shae-kyun. Unlike some of the previous Park Chan-Wook movies, this is not adapted from a novel or a manga. This is an original story written by Park Chan-Wook himself. So this is, we're going 6 years after The Handmaiden. So this has been a while since Park Chan-Wook has made a feature-length film. Obviously COVID, all that has kind of ended. Well, not totally ended, but there's a point now where we're going back to the theaters. We no longer have to wear masks. So I saw this movie at the Angelica Film Center in New York City in Manhattan. And before the movie began, Park Chan-Wook he did a video introduction, which a lot of filmmakers and actors do before movies. And, he thanked you for coming. And then he just started describing the plot of the movie. And don't spoil the movie before I haven't even seen it. And so, obviously it was all in subtitles, so I just didn't read the subtitles. I thought, this is so weird, why is he doing this? So that ended, and then Tang Wei and Park Hae-hil came on. They thanked us for coming to see the movie, and then they just started talking about the plot of the movie. It was just so weird. I was like, stop spoiling the movie before we've seen it. I never really... a lot of movies now, they do introductions like that, but I've never actually just had the movie spoiled twice, before you see it. So a very peculiar way to start somewhat of a mystery kind of movie. And the early kind of reviews on this movie, even though I was very excited, were they seemed to say that this was a bit of a step down for Park Chan-Wook, mainly stating that his lack of specifically, I think a lot of them said, the lack of violence and sexuality in the movie was, is this just a muted Park Chan-Wook? Is he trying to become more commercial? Is he trying to, appeal more to awards, things and stuff like that? Which was, kind of interesting, even though his movies prior to this, there was obviously violence. He did a vampire movie with blood-sucking. He never really was like an explicit violent guy. He wasn't making French extremity movies. A lot of movies you would actually cut on the violence. The tongue getting cut out. You would see the scissors by the tongue. Then you would pan up. You would see the eyes, and then you would see the bloody aftermath. Same thing in some of his other movies. In the death scene at the end of Old Boy, right after that, you don't actually see the gun going off. You just see the bloody aftermath. So even though he did do a lot of violent movies that did have violence, he never really reveled in it. And certainly when I saw this, the lack of violence, or obviously in this movie the sexuality may be replaced by sensuality. That to each their own, but that to me I didn't find any issue at all. This is still very much a Park Chan-Wook movie, just like all the others. And the reviews, I think, just kind of missed the point of this one. This is a I struggle to say that it kind of is reminiscent of like 1950s kind of murder mystery kind of noir, where I don't think the mystery is really all that mysterious. When you first find the older Chinese gentleman who died falling off a mountain, I don't think you ever think for once that he just accidentally fell off or was drunk or took his own life. I know YouTube does not like certain words, but if he didn't, then the movie's kind of short. Obviously some nefarious things happened in the beginning. It's just waiting to see all the pieces get put together is why you're watching this movie. Also, the relationship between the two main characters is probably the most. It's a very unusual relationship where, there's a time where they're just hanging out, they're cooking together, and, there's no real stress to it, and you kind of wonder why this guy who, is happily married, even though, him and his wife, due to career reasons, don't live together, why he keeps associating with this, mysterious woman. What is it that keeps drawing him to her over and over again? Obviously, I've stated this throughout every film, the filmmaking of this is absolutely spectacular. I think the way he uses technology, especially cell phones, is very unique, and for the most part I think that analog is much more interesting and cinematic than a lot of digital things. It's much more interesting to see a character go to a library and do research, look at photographs, look at physical evidence, and it is just to see them on a cell phone or on a computer or what have you. But in this, when the two characters are texting back and forth, you get almost a POV shot from the cell phone, and you're seeing the text right in front of you. And when Tai Wang's character, she's texting back, you see those little dots just waiting and waiting, and then you're building suspense through the technology. And later, when he's got her cell phone at the end, and he's going to play the voicemail, or the voice recording rather, it's the POV through the cell phone, and you're just looking at the voice recording that's and his finger is going to touch it, and it's really building up the suspense. So he manages to use technology in a way that a lot of other filmmakers don't. They would just okay, I've got the information, where he finds a way to use a lot of newer technology in a much more cinematic way. And some of my favorite shots in this are when I think it's this right after that scene where they're doing the text messaging. He's driving to the woman's house, and the shot is first on the speedometer. You see he's going really, really fast. The speed is increasing, and then there's a rack focused his hand on the steering wheel where it's just focused on his wedding ring, and you're just like, what's going on, man? Why are you doing this? And their whole relationship, it's set up almost entirely just visually, where he's doing his little kind of surveillance on her, and as he's kind of listening in and watching through his binoculars and telescope, he's picturing himself sitting next to her, where she's smoking. He pictures himself sitting there with an ashtray, trying to ask her questions, trying to figure out this woman. And later on, where after he's following her to the police station, there you see her make the turn, you see him make the turn, she turns on her blinker, he turns on her blinker, and you're getting the rhythm of the sound that the turn signals are making, and then it's it's this musical kind of moment where they're just driving together, and that's all you need sometimes. And when they eat their very special kind of bento boxes, the sushi special bento boxes, that we get the feeling that he kind of splurged into the budget for that. Just the way they eat together, and especially the way they clean up together. It's it's almost like a dance sequence. It's very well choreographed, and just simple things like that. He's setting them up without having to use any dialogue at all. One of my, I guess, I've talked a lot about his editing style. One of my favorites is when they find the picture of Tang Wei, and she's people again lighting off fireworks here. It's never too late or too early. And she's throwing the phone away, and she's doing that weird pose, and everyone in the scene is kind of doing the pose to try to figure out what's happening. And then the next shot, he's at her house, and he's doing the same pose, but he's doing it to ring her doorbell. I just thought that was really clever and a really interesting way to transition. Another great sequence is when they a great story design that is in this is, in addition to the main sort of two different murders that he investigates, there's all these other little subplots and different crimes that he's investigating to begin with. The first one with the character Sano, who is accused of murder, he's investigating both cases simultaneously, and he's getting into knife fights, and he needs this chainmail kind of glove to get into, and it just keeps coming back and forth. And the first time I saw it was a little bit confusing, but you kind of because you're not so used to multiple things going on at once. But it's just, these guys, they're police officers, they're constantly doing different cases. And then when he's doing the second murder investigation, there's the soft-shell turtle kidnapping that eventually after they almost get a confession, they find the kidnappers of the turtles, and they try to rescue them, but then his little female co-worker says, "Be careful, they like to bite." It's just a great shot of him with a turtle hanging off his finger that's just trying to bite his finger off. In the next shot, he walks back to his house, and he's got a turtle in a plastic bag that looks like he just smashed the turtle. So just great transitions, great sequences as as we've come to expect. So this is going to be our final film in the series. As I've stated later, No Other Choice does not come out till October. So as of now, this is my collection. I do have his short film cut, which is part of the Three Extremes. I'll review that later, and part of the whole series. Perhaps more with Takashi Miike, because I think his film is significantly better than Park Chan-Wook's. So, ranking his films, it's kind of interesting. I would put Handmaiden, he's on top, Stoker on bottom. The rest it's really, really tough. He's doing a lot of different things in the rest of them. I don't know. I feel like Decision to Leave would be, kind of closer to the top, but there's a lot of other great movies in there too. So, Handmaiden top, Stoker unfortunately at the bottom. The rest are also all interchangeable. Not that they're all similar, but it's just he's doing different things in each one. And looking back on the series and Park Chan-Wook as a director, when we discussed Stoker, I talked about how the poster for that and all the advertisements proclaimed that the big tagline was "This is Park Chan-Wook's most mature work to date." And looking back, I think all of his work is really mature. He's always dealing with really complex subject matter, different emotions, and obviously he's doing tremendous technical things. His his very detailed storyboards, which leads to his tremendous editing styles. So he's always been a very mature director. He perhaps has dialed back some of the more showy elements in this, where in Decision to Leave, where you can see, apologize for forgetting to mention all the special features, you do get the VFX of real on this, and even though this is not a movie that really draws attention to the visual effects, they're definitely there. A lot of the mist is all added digitally. A lot of the when they're driving together and they're doing the turn signals, they're all on green screen. The background was added, the reflection in the mirrors were added. So he's still using, he's still a master of visual effects, but I think he's doing it in a much less showy way. And I don't know, I don't think that he ever was unmature. So I'm trying to say that he definitely, looking back from Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance till Decision to Leave, I don't know, he's always been just a great director. I'd like to say that there has been, I don't think there's maybe growth as a filmmaker as much as there is change in him as a human being, as an individual. The subject matter, maybe he wants to tell stories in a different way. Maybe he wants to obviously his use of violence and sexuality. He does address it again in one of the special features in this, where it's talking at the at Lincoln Center, where he's just said that he wanted to make this more of a romantic movie. So as a result, he dialed back a little bit on those elements. And if he dials them back in for his next movie, I don't think it'll be a case of him regressing or anything like that. So, I don't know if he's, gotten better as a filmmaker. He was always pretty great. I think we're just seeing him grow and mature as a human being. And as a result, we're seeing different shifts in his films. So we're seeing, the reflection of just a older, different human being, more so than someone who's really grown. Maybe he has grown. He's pretty great. His next film apparently is a English language film. He's co-writing it with S. Craig Zoller, who did Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in the Cell Block 99. He's a pretty interesting writer. He tends to meander a lot in his screenplays. They'll characters who have little to no kind of importance in the script, but they'll get like 10-minute backstories. He does a lot of interesting things with his writing. How him and Park are going to work together, I have absolutely no idea. I looked up the cast. I completely forgot who they are, unfortunately, but you can all look that up together, unfortunately. So we're definitely, again, his last English language movie written by the guy who did Prison Break. May not have been completely successful narratively, but here's hoping that his next foray into English language film is a great success. as of yet. He's yet to really be recognized. I think Decision to Leave did get Best Foreign Language from the Golden Globes. BAFTA liked this film a lot. It gave Park Chan-Wook a Best Director nomination. So he is a universally respected director, definitely, even though not all of the screw them, not all the award shows tend to recognize him as much as they should. So, do we have anything else to say about this guy? I'm sure I do. Behind the scene. Yeah, no, that'll be it. So, that's going to wrap us up with Park Chan-Wook. As I mentioned, we're waiting until October for No Other Choice, which you can get on Neon. You can also pre-order it right now on Amazon. I believe it's the same price no matter which way you go. So, it's up to you. Hopefully you enjoyed the series on Director Park Chan-Wook, and we're going to continue watching it. This show as we go along, and we look back on this is our 50th episode, and perhaps it's a good time to do a little retrospective afterwards to see which are the keepers, which are kind of the weaker of the movies. Hopefully those firecrackers are not interfering too much with my speech, so we will wrap it up now. And thank you all for watching. Hope you keep watching. Until next time, folks, be kind and rewind to each other. And remember, it's not a true home without home video. Thank you. Goodbye.